host, Dos Amigos. This week on our episode of Taco Talk, we have trials rider and local chiropractor Brad Hannon. So Brad, why don't you tell us when your trials career began?
My whole life I've been around trials. My dad rode trials for about 10, 20 years before I was even born. And then so as soon as I was born, it was, here's the throttle, go ahead and give you a twist and feel the bike, touch the bike. And then as soon as I was big enough, he put me on the tank and would ride me around. And then about 5 or 6 years old, I got my first bike, which was a TY80. It was heavy and the brakes weren't that good and the clutch wasn't that good. And so I got kind of frustrated with it, and they didn't have the progression of the bikes between the 80s and the 250s. And so once you got to be a certain size, you had to bump up to the full-size bikes, and I was just too small to start it. When I got some size on me, I came back maybe about age 15, 16, and started riding again. And it's something fun that my dad and I have always done together, and it's just that kind of quality family time, camping and the campfire and hanging out. And I got pretty serious and started getting pretty good, and then in my college years I rode the local pro level, and nothing, no big wins, no big contracts or anything. Just trying to do my best and stay healthy. And when I graduated college, I realized that trials wasn't going to be putting food on the table, so I needed to kind of back down a little bit, and I began riding the local expert level. And ever since then, I've been the top expert in Southern California for about 10 years now. And then I rode through kind of like, I guess you'd say, my pro years. I rode for Scorpa, which had a Yamaha motor at the time. The bike was built in France. And then I rode Gas for a little bit, and then I rode Sherco, and now I'm back to Gas.
So why don't you tell us about your affiliation with Gas?
Yeah, they've quit making bikes for a few years, and now they're back, and they got some new funding, and a new company, Terret, is with them. And so they're looking to get some local riders, and some friends of mine hooked me up, and so I'm getting a little bit of support from them, and I really appreciate that. And my job is to do well for local events and to allow people to see the new products. When you go from having like some of the best products, in the trials community, to not selling any products, they just needed to get some bikes out there, get them underneath some riders, get them out there and exposed to the local community. So they first sought out their top level riders, their national riders, and then they're seeking out their local riders, and I was fortunate to get that.
So you've stayed with this series or this style of riding for so long. Was it because of those relationships that you built with Sherco and Gas, or was it the friendships that you built along the way?
Probably more the friendships. When I grew up, there was other kids my age that we would camp with, and we still compete and ride it with each other, and when I went through college, I lived with some good friends of mine that I met through the trials community. The trials community I find is a little bit different than a lot of the other communities, because it's kind of us against the obstacles. We tend to be, we would share secrets, I guess you might say. What air pressure are you running? What gear are you using? What line are you taking? What do you think of this bike? What's your suspension setup? All these kind of things. In other sports, oftentimes are kind of held close to the chest, so to speak. I did race the Baja 500 in 2003, and it was just a completely different experience. It was fun in its own way, but I realized it just kind of wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So I really like that, just kind of family atmosphere. It's you against the obstacles. It's not so much you against the other competitors. We compare scores at the end to see who wins, but
it seriously is like a whole different sport. You go out to those events, and it's not, if you're used to just seeing dirt bikes race along a trail all weekend, you definitely aren't used to seeing what goes on at those trial events,
Yeah. So we're friends. We'll ride and practice together. Just call each other throughout the week. It's not like, there's no like animosity amongst a lot of trials riders. It's a small community, and I would say nationwide, we all almost know each other through the different national events and that kind of stuff. And it's the fathers all competed against each other, and now all the sons compete against each other. And so it's really neat that way.
All right, so speaking of trials being a whole different sport, it's not your usual just riding through a trail. There's a certain training and physique that you need to be in. Why don't you tell us about that?
So when I was in college, I thought that I needed to be like really strong and be able to squat heavy and bench heavy, and I actually weighed about 15 more pounds, and it was pretty lean muscle. And but I found that I was so stiff and not as agile as I needed to be. So trials riders were very agile. We're kind of like jumping and kind of moving around on the bike a lot. And so, you know, through the course of my years of riding, I found that actually being lean but being pretty strong is important. So now I focus a lot on balance and agility and mobility. I mean, I still lift weights and I still, you know, do the regular kind of cardio stuff once in a while. But I just have found that trying to, you know, have that, I guess, beach body with the big pecs and the big quads and that kind of stuff didn't really pay off or transfer into better performance on the bike. I kept running into was that I would hurt myself in the gym. I wouldn't be able to practice as much. And now I find that the name of the game is just being consistent, you know, being in the gym regular basis, on the bike on regular basis. And there's a lot of technique to things.
I'm sure so many riders have come across that same exact struggle that you're just talking about right now. You know, you really need to be careful how much you train and the type of training that you do and how much you're putting your body through the week before a race or 2 weeks before a race, because a lot of the times during training, if you're not training right and if you're not putting your body through the right kind of physical training, then it doesn't really pay off in the end, you know?
One of the big differences now is that, you know, in the 80s, it wasn't this big fitness and nutrition regimen around riders. It was kind of like riders would go ride, and then, I mean, you know, even during those times, people were known for partying and stuff. And now it's like, you know, most of the riders don't drink alcohol. They're on a strict regimen. There's gyms and support nutrition around the sport. So it really is at a higher level, and it's good actually, you know, because in a sense you're preventing injury, you're repairing better. See, you know, through my chiropractic office, I see so many kids that are out there pushing real hard, and you know, they're breaking their femur and they're breaking their wrists, and they don't make it, and now they got to figure out, well, what can I do with a bad shoulder, you know?
Yeah, you know, by the time that they hit age 35, they can't even walk. You know?
Yeah. We kind of in the office will say we can tell a rider by the way they walk. You know, there's usually a good limp. You know, so I think nutrition, sleep, living a structured, balanced life. Chiropractic care has been very important in the health of me and my career. You know, supplements have been very important, and it's interesting that, you know, there was the supplements I was using when I was younger, and then there's the supplements that as I'm getting older that I'm using, you know, so there's different kind of phases that you go through.
All right, so speaking of health and nutrition, we're going to take a quick commercial break and then go meet with a health coach. She's going to teach us all the diet plans, all the supplements that we need to be taking for an active lifestyle, and she's going to teach us how to make Taco Tuesday healthy. Alright, so we have Monique Hannon, who is a health coach with us here today, and she's going to talk with us about dietary supplements, vitamins, and other things that we need to be taking and put into our diet if we have an active lifestyle.
So the first thing is, if you're really active, you really want to, like muscle recovery, right? You get those cramps, you need some muscle recovery, so Myocon is something that we really recommend for all of our patients to be, especially everyone should be working out. So this is a good recovery. Trace minerals, B12, everybody needs minerals, and a lot of us are really deficient in minerals, so this is really important. We don't think about minerals very often, and a lot of us think, even like sea salt has a lot of good minerals in there, so we always think, oh, don't eat sodium, don't eat salt, but Celtic sea salt, the Himalayan sea salt is actually really beneficial for us, so that's something that we should be utilizing as well. I'm sure a lot of us heard of fish oil. This is really good for brain health. Not only brain health, but inflammation in the body. Bone broth is really important. So I don't know if anybody's heard of bone broth. It's kind of a big thing right now, but it's also not only just for gut health, but inflammation in the body. It has collagen, which is help rebuilding, you know, so many things like your insides and your outsides. And you guys can see this. So collagen. So you can actually make bone broth. Or for those of you guys who don't want to make bone broth, you can supplement it. So 1 scoop is equivalent to 1.5 cups of bone broth.
What can you mix it with to drink it?
You can make a smoothie. So there is flavored ones. So we have like chocolate and vanilla. There's, I think we have like a coffee one. I like the pure in the fact that you could actually put this in, say if you were to make a vegetable soup, you can put 1 scoop in your vegetable soup, and that's going to provide you with 20 grams of protein. It has amino acids, protein, collagen in there, so it's really gut healing, and it helps with recovery. You could also, like I said, you could put it in a smoothie, but if you want more of like a sweeter like smoothie, you could do like the chocolate or the vanilla, and they use monk fruit in there. We've done a lot of protein bars. So like we'll do some like nuts, like a Lara bar or something like that, and then we'll add this in there.
Okay.
So you're getting some healthy protein. And then this is extra collagen. I'd like to add to the bone broth protein. So, I mean, if you just wanted to do one or the other, that's fine, but I always like to add a little extra collagen because that's something that's really important for recovery and your bone health and everything. And healthy fats are really important to incorporate into your diet at every meal. So I really like coconut oil or MCT oil, which is medium chain triglycerides, and it's kind of gives you that immediate energy and healthy brain function.
Okay. What can we mix that stuff with?
A smoothie. So the reason why I like the MCT oil is when you do coconut oil in a smoothie and you add some ice in there and some cold, maybe some frozen berries, it kind of makes it kind of thick, and little pieces of coconut oil is in there. So this is going to be liquid, and it just is smoother.
Okay, where can we get all of this stuff at?
So this stuff you can find at Hannon Chiropractic. This you can buy at Sprouts, or I know that BJ's Health Store in the High Desert has another brand of MCT oil as well.
Okay. Monique is gonna talk with us about how we can have a healthier Taco Tuesday, so stay tuned.
Because I think my girl is sacred for somebody else. And every time she takes my hand, all the wonders that remain become a simple fact. You are out of my league. All the things I believe.
What's the first step?
Well, first step is making sure your source of the ingredients are clean, and a lot of times we hear we need to eat clean. So what is clean eating? Well, clean eating is eating foods that are not sprayed with chemicals, and eating meats or chickens or fish, and the things that are not fed like antibiotics. So this is really important. So we want to make sure we're using all organic. So we're using organic, non-GMO foods. A lot of this stuff you can really find at like your local grocery stores now. They're everywhere. So we have a salad with a bunch of mixed greens. We have some cilantro. We have tomatoes, corn. We have some onions. We have black beans, organic cheese. We have nutritional yeast, and nutritional yeast, for those, I don't eat dairy. Nutritional yeast has a ton of B vitamins in there, and it's a great dairy option. And it tastes like very cheesy, so it's something that you can sprinkle on your salad as well. We have the black beans, we have quinoa, and one reason why I like to use quinoa over rice, it's less starchy and it actually has more protein in there. And it's not a grain, so it's a seed. So it's less inflammatory. And then we have some grass-fed beef here. You can also do chicken or ground, turkey that's organic. We have avocado, and then we have salsa. So it's kind of, choosing one or the other. I wouldn't say you have to incorporate all of them. So it kind of builds like a plate, and kind of every time you eat a meal, you should be thinking, do I have my healthy protein? Do I have my healthy fat? And then do I have my fiber? And if you have that, and then you can add in maybe some beans, which would be like a 1/3 cup.
Okay.
So,
all right, let's get started.
All right, so we'll get some. You want your greens to be the most on your plate. So it should be a huge plate of greens, not just a spring. It's not the side salad. It's kind of like your main course. You can also add other greens, like sometimes you can do, I love to do asparagus. Or even broccoli. If you want to make it even lighter, you can also do cauliflower rice. I'll do cauliflower Mexican style rice. So I do a lot of vegetables. I probably would add more, but for the sake of this is good. But I probably would definitely be adding a little bit more if you.
And why are we choosing to make a taco salad over a taco shell?
Well, it's going to be less carbs, and it's going to give you more energy and more fiber. So fiber is something that's going to keep you nice and full. We'll add some cilantro, which is really good for detoxification. Sorry. Some tomatoes. Some onions. And make sure, like I said, you want to make sure when you do corn that it's organic corn. A lot of corn out there is genetically modified, and that's something we really want to stay away from. Nutritional use, like I said, you can use this as cheese. And I do personally like to usually measure my food, so if I'm going to, like, this is like just a few beans in here, but if I were gonna do beans at home, I would wanna make sure I'm just doing like a 1/3 cup of beans. If you're gonna do beans, then I wouldn't do the quinoa, I would do one or the other.
Okay.
It's a little too much. So that's why I just did like a sprinkle, or you know, you could just like do a tablespoon of each, just to kind of get that in there. Your beef. For women, it's usually typically around 3 to 4 to 5 ounces, and then for men it's like 6 to 8 ounces.
Okay.
So I also usually will make sure I'm measuring out my food.
Okay.
Just to make sure you're getting enough healthy protein in.
Yeah.
Sometimes we end up making our cells like really small, and then in 2 hours we're hungry. And what we should be eating we should really be having like 3 meals, maybe a snack a day. So it should be big enough for us to eat every 3 to 4 or even 5 hours, so you have the time to digest it.
Okay.
I got some beef, and this is going to be your healthy fat, the avocado.
Okay.
I can get it on there. And some salsa. And if you're like me, what I normally do is I just mix it all together.
Yeah.
So this is going to be healthier for you. It's going to keep you full. You can even add in some like olive oil for some extra added fat, and some lemon.
Okay.
So these are just kind of what I would do for a healthier Taco Tuesday.
Healthier Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the tips and tricks on how to make our Taco Tuesday healthier.
40 days and 40 nights. I waited for.
All right, so Brad, are you part of an organization or a club with trials?
Yeah, the club is called Plonkers, and the organization is the Southern California Trials Association. They have a Facebook page, and they have a website. September 24th, which is a Sunday, we'll be out at Cougar Buttes in Lucerne. There'll be information on the website. There'll be maps and times and that you can all come out and check it out. It's free to watch. And there'll be an enduro line, so bring your big bike out and give it a try.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching our health episode with the Hannons. It's been super fun doing this episode, and I hope you guys can all take home some diet tips and tricks and how to keep an active lifestyle and not damage your body. For more info and places to buy the dietary supplements and the bone broth, click on the link below and you will find everything you need. Thank you guys.
The time I feel